Hey, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing fine. I was actually listening to an interview that Oprah did with Viola Davis, this amazing woman actor who acted Woman King, or is it King Woman? Woman King. And I'm listening to her and I'm like, what? Poverty. Poverty understood its assignment in their home. And I'm amazed that I am brought up in Kenya, in Africa, and I did not go or experience that kind of or that level of poverty, of which I'm grateful for. And I started thinking to myself, yes, I was provided for. My parents provided for me. My father was a high school teacher, eventually became a principal. My mom was a cateress and then turned to a businesswoman. We were five of us, and I am the firstborn. And as I was listening to this woman explain about her life when, as she was growing up, this comes to my mind. Poverty, the way it presented itself to Viola and her family, was what we call abject poverty. Like they were poor in everything. And with whatever she went through in that lifetime, as she was growing up, made her who she is. But then I'm thinking about what kind of poverty that you're having, or what kind of poverty I experienced myself. The kind of poverty I experienced myself was emotional poverty, because somewhere along the way, as I was growing up, our second born came when I was 2 years old. And then the third born came when I was 3 years old. The fourth came when I was 6 years old. And the fifth came when I was 8 years old. So in that span of 8 years, four more siblings came along. And you know what happened? All attention was taken away from me. I stopped feeling seen. I stopped feeling loved. I stopped feeling that compassion because someone else was taking it. We were not even sharing 50-50 or 1/8. No. I felt like it was pulled away from me completely. And from those experiences, I started telling myself stories, because I am young and I'm trying to make sense of what's going on in my life at the time. And the more the children came, or the more my siblings were born, or the more we increased in numbers, the farther away I felt, removed from especially my mother. I really felt like I was never seen. I never had that affection, that attention. I don't remember feeling it. And I know many of us relate to this. I'm not saying I'm the only one in the entire great world. No, I'm just saying that I am among those children, especially firstborns, who feel left out, unseen. There's no compassion. In fact, your mother is so busy, not only in parenting, but in her own life and her own traumas and her own challenges and struggles, that the first one always is left empty, no attention. I don't even remember my mom ever pulling me to herself and saying, "Oh, I love you so much." And I'm not blaming my mom. I'm not saying she was a bad parent, but under the circumstances, that's what happened to me. And so for all my life, I've struggled with the issues of self-esteem, self-worth, never feeling seen, had it up to here with criticism, and that's what you actually even go through when you go to school. At school, it's criticism. It's being scolded. Then I go back at home, it's the same thing. And I remember, always hearing this statement, "Hey, you are not a child. Let the child have what they want." Or, "Why are you behaving like that? You're not a child." Man, I was only 2 years old. I was a child. Even at 5, even when our last born came and I was 8 years old, I was still a child. But you're being told to grow up and behave like a grown-up, yet I'm not even one. And as Viola is talking about her struggles in childhood, I see something very interesting. that I was highly provided for. I was very well dressed. In fact, we were very well dressed because one other thing about my mom was she was an amazing seamstress. She could make amazing clothes. I remember she would buy books from, I think, UK, and then they had these patterns, and we learned how to go, along the patterns, along the lines of the size of the dress that she was making and cutting out those parts. Oh man, my mom was amazing. She was an amazing cook, so we ate amazing food. My dad was a provider, and we experienced amazing things. He loved fun, so we traveled a lot. We used to go out every Sunday to play out there, swings and I don't know, slides and everything else. That was very well provided for. But for me, it's that emotional connection with my mom, emotional connection with my father that was missing. And then, as if that was not bad enough, when I was 10 years old, shipped to boarding school. Well, by the time I was done with the 4 years in boarding school, I was an army all by myself. And I left primary school knowing that no one had my back. I had to have my back. When I went to high school, I was acting out, because I was really looking for that attention. So I was always getting into trouble. But for me, as long as I was being noticed, oh, there is Karen. You troublemaker, noise maker. That attention was good enough. That attention was good enough. But now it's the scolding and the criticism that would come along with all those events that would still get into me. I remember when we finished fourth form, or Form 4, or Kenya Secondary School Certificate of Education. Apana. It is KC, Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. My then principal, Mrs. Getonga, may your soul rest in peace, wrote in my certificate, my leaving certificate, or is it a leaver certificate? She could have done better if she was serious at her work. That statement has really influenced me. I did not know why I had issues with performance or issues with self-trust until I remembered that that is what she wrote in my leaving certificate. And this is a woman of authority, a woman who, what she says, according to my mind, was true. But then again, it was just an addition to more criticism when I was growing up. Never did anything right. Everything I did was wrong. And then I started having this feeling of like, I'll never be enough. And that's how people start having that issue of never feeling enough. Because there's nothing that you do that was ever said, oh, this one is awesome. You've done great. Awesome. Hey, okay, here you could have improved, but in this area, oh man, here you're doing good. Or high five, yeah, you're doing well. Those things rarely come because I don't know what's wrong with our minds, because the first thing you do is you criticize. Even now, if you look in social media or anything that is being done by someone else, your brain does not first of all go to see what is good. You are looking for that thing which is not right. Then, look at that corner there. That thing is not straight. Like I can imagine that people are looking at what is behind me and trying to look for reasons why it should not be there, instead of listening to this voice of mine. Anyway, I just felt like talking about this, where you may not be having issues with provision of things, clothing, shelter, food, water, education. We went to one of the best schools in the Eastern region. My father made sure, even as our performances were good, so we were able to go to good schools. But for me, it was the emotional provision that was not enough. And man, it's been a struggle, digging into my life, trying to look for why I think the way I think, why I talk the way I talk, why I behave the way I behave. Because there's some things my friends know that I'm struggling with. And it has been like almost 4 years now of digging inside my past and looking for 1, 2, 3, looking for reasons like what really went on. And well, I'm happy that I have found what it is. Have you found out? Or you're just saying like, mimi niko sawa, me I'm okay. Yeah. Are there things that are there times when you are behaving in a certain way, or you react to certain situations or to certain people, and you are wondering, why do I behave like this? Why do I react like this? Mostly, it's experiences by large in childhood experiences, in or what they call the childhood traumas. You know, like many things, like me I've talked about it. A primary school teacher, parading me in front of her class, and they throw words at me, very unkind words, you know to going to boarding school, and every time you got anything wrong, you're beaten, you're punished. It's like it was a cardinal, I don't know, crime not to get 100% marks, and you would get punished for not knowing. We were all supposed to grasp things all at the same speed, yet we are all totally different. And I wonder whether, is it that our teachers and our parents didn't know the effects of this way of guiding, or what was it? I don't get it. And are we doing any better now as parents? Are the parents of today doing any better than what our parents did in the past? I don't know. What do you think? Anyway, enjoy yourself, even as you do your self, introspection. I wish you all the best, because it's good to know yourself. It's good to know what fuels your behavior. It's good to know what fuels your inquisitiveness. I mean, what makes you tick. It's good to know what it makes you tick. All right? Bye-bye.